Welcome back to Voice of Disruption. I'm Ken Rakowski as we meet people that are disrupting themselves, disrupting the planet, learn from them to find out how you can do it for yourself. Terren Peizer is joining in. Terren is an Ohio guy who made it to Wall Street to Los Angeles. Wall Street, why Wall Street?
I think it was because I was kind of like a little trouble kid. Was really attracted to gambling.
Really?
Yeah, in high school. And my dad told me I had to get a summer job related to something I could use in my life. So I got a job working in a commodity shop.
In Ohio or New York?
Cleveland.
In Cleveland, right.
That were brokering commodities. Mm-hmm. So I said, this is like gambling. Perfect. And I've started reading everything I could about Wall Street Journal, everything, Barron's, everything, to learn as much as I can about markets. So I gravitated and to this day, I'm still a gambler.
You're still a gambler, yeah. Hardcore gambler, right? But you ended up going to Wall Street during probably one of the most, I would say, exciting times during Wall Street. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say we will never see those times again.
Why? What was so different about that?
Lack of regulation.
It was a wild, wild west, right?
Well, it's all relative. I would say crypto's a little bit on steroids.
And we'll talk to somebody who's in the crypto space a little later on. But back then...
It was the Wild West. Back then, it was definitely the Wild West relative to traditional establishment Wall Street.
So you were able to kind of do things and push the limit that most people could never do today, right?
It was actually hard for even people then to understand. It was the establishment versus innovative product. And it's not too dissimilar to what we see today.
But it's interesting. In most ways, you kind of do the old school method. I mean, you're hardworking. You're on the phone. You're relationships driven. I mean, you're doing what is necessary for any business. You just apply that to Wall Street.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, when I first started, I started at a young age back then. Mm-hmm. You know, today, it's not. You could become very successful at any age, right? And it's technology has taken down barriers. Back then, it was old school. You had to start at the bottom and work your way up.
But you excelled pretty fast.
Well, yeah, because number one, I had a passion for it that was pretty unusual for my age. I started at Goldman Sachs when I was 20.
Okay.
I was trading. When I was in school, I was commuting to the commodity exchange in New York. I went to school in Philly. Mm-hmm. Commuting to the commodity exchange in New York, trading on Friday and Monday, and I tried to make up for my classes Tuesday and Wednesday.
Wow.
And of course, that's how I got 19. I front ran the Hunt Brothers, cornering silver.
But most people may not know this, and maybe you don't want to verify this, but the character Bud in Wall Street's basically you.
No.
Yeah, I knew you
No.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. It really isn't.
No? Who is it?
No. This is the longest story. But it's actually a great story. Michael Douglas and Oliver Stone came to Mike Milken and I and said, we want to do a movie based on you guys. And we're going to call the movie Junk Bond. And of course, that was 1985, 86, then the insider trading scandal. And of course, I was getting all excited. We're in a little room. Of course, we had them come in at 3:30 in the morning because we had Hollywood types come in at 3:30 to see if they're serious because we don't want them wasting our time. So they come in 3:30. I don't know if they were just going to bed or waking up. They come in, said, we're going to make this movie. I'm so excited. This is after a risky business, Tom Cruise. I'm thinking, and I'm 25,
Your next
26.
big star.
I'm thinking Tom Cruise is going to play me. So I'm getting all excited about the idea that they're going to make a movie, even though we were controversial. We had Senate hearings on us. We were too powerful. I'm getting so excited. Michael looks at me and says, Terren, step outside. I step outside. He says, we're not making this movie. Oh, why? Oh, yeah, of course. I go there dejected. And then Michael has one of the classic lines in history. How much do you expect to make on this movie? Well, we'll probably...
This is Michael Milken.
Yeah. He says, how much do you expect to make on this movie? And they go out and huddle, come back in. Well, we think... And back then, big movies were 200 to 250 million. E.T., Raiders of the Lost...
Those are huge.
Close Encounters of a Third Kind. 200 million they would do, 250 maybe. They come back. Well, we think we'll do 80 million and we'll clear 20 million. Michael says, I'll pay you 20 million not to make the movie. That was the end of it. That was the end of the discussion because they knew Michael would spend 20 million to fight it. He wanted to keep a low profile.
Kind of does still seem like it was you.
It was not. It was really, no, seriously, we advised them what a storyline, and I gave him the storyline. I based the storyline on Ivan Boesky and Dennis Levine.
That's right. That's right. And Michael Milken.
Not really. No.
So as we step back now you're in Los Angeles, you've been here for a long time. You are in the public markets. Matter of fact, you have a ton of publicly traded companies. Is the IPO still the hot thing, or do you think it's going to be replaced?
Well, that's controversial. I mean, I have a lot of different views on it. ICOs, Reg A's versus IPO. And the idea, the Reg A is an evolution of an IPO, and the ICO is a revolution of Reg A. But what it is, it's taking direct to consumer and direct to Joe Public.
It's bypassing everything going
Right.
direct.
That-
Good time, or is that kind of scary in most
I
respects?
think it'll have an equal opposite reaction the other way.
It's going to implode.
I don't know about that. I'm just saying, for example, when you there's no point of government agencies if you take all their ability away. If the government agencies, of course, the government, U.S. government, whether it be the FDA or the SEC, are there to protect, quote unquote, the public. And we need them in case of the FDA.
You need a middleman in there.
In the
to help
FDA,
out.
we definitely need it. In the case of the SEC, I don't know. But the point is, if you take everything out of the SEC's hands, it'll get
It's going to go back to the 80s.
worse.
It's going to be worse than that.
Worse, yeah.
But you are involved in some incredible companies right now.
I
You really
hope
are.
so, yeah.
Well, you think, I mean, I believe they are. What are you excited about?
What's really incredible, and it takes a long time to change healthcare.
It does.
And the most broken part of healthcare, the government will call it mental health, the industry calls it behavioral health. Whatever health you want to call it, it's badly broken. Mm-hmm. And I said how, if I had known it was going to take 14 years and $200 million, I probably would not have done it.
That's what it's taken you so far to do this.
But
What's the company called?
Catassys. But we're finally here. And when I say here, we have now contracts with the 7 or the 8 largest health plans in the country. But it took forever. It took 10 years. The sales cycle was 10 years, down to 7, down to 5, now down to 2. But we're just launching. We're in pilot phase for the last 3 years.
What do you fix?
It's the part of the problem with mental behavioral health
It's
is
outpatients environments, right?
that's one of the problems. 2 is access to affordable, effective care. And the 2 operative words are access and affordable. And so affordable implies reimbursement. The industry, it goes on forever, but they basically separated mental health as a stepchild, get it out of the medical plans, and just administer claims, pay as little as possible. So reimbursement rates were 5 to 10% effectively. So we figured out how to, and what's worse is these patient populations are treatment avoidant. They're care avoidant. 90% of those that have a mental behavioral health disorder never seek care. And the other problem is they have comorbid chronic condition, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, pulmonary disease. Our patient population, who we're contractual to treat, represents today 35% of the total medical spend in the country. That's why we're very important to the industry. Yeah, and we keep expanding our footprint because we're rolling out additional products. So to suffice it to say, if you have a cardiovascular, pulmonary, or diabetes problem, you cost the health plan with a mental behavioral health problem, you cost the health plan 4 times normally what a diabetes, cardiovascular, and pulmonary.
Just because of the mental side.
It's
the mental
right,
health.
and
So
they're treatment avoidant. So what we were able to do, and again, it's counterintuitive. It's the reason we don't exist and we won't have competition for many, many years, and the reason we signed up 70% of the industry, the reason is counterintuitive. It's illogical to create a product and then create a company around a product for something that the end user doesn't want. They're treatment avoidant. They don't want our product. So the key was inviting them to treatment, not for them to avoiding treatment.
Got it. But the key is you've created and please don't take it wrong, almost like a glorified babysitter environment.
It's a high touch. A lot of these patients needed a lot of attention.
That's it.
But we had foresight in doing a lot of things. One, making it a replicable, scalable, universal treatment program for depression, anxiety, and substance use disorder.
With a high touch point.
Nationwide. We have a care coach who's a registered nurse by background, but we also do integrative care. We combine a medical doctor with a psychologist, with our care coach who's the registered nurse, reinforcing the key learnings from the medical doctor and the psychologist, but we're getting them, we arrest the mental behavioral health issue, we get them now to focus on care for the first time for their comorbid chronic condition, or get them to comply with a protocol they were previously prescribed.
No, I believe in it. I've actually invested in it because I believe in it. It's a good stock symbol, which is?
CATS.
Yep, that's it, CATS.
CATS.
Which I think's got a lot of potential, and I'm excited about it. I'm being full disclosure here.
In the next 2 years, because it's a launch and a ramp, people will see hundreds of millions of free cash flow over the next 1 to 2 years.
Okay, now let's talk about you before we leave, okay?
Do we have to?
You've been the same always. You're kind of like consistent and predictable all the time. How many homes have you lived in the last, let's say, 20 years?
One.
You've done financially incredibly well.
33 years, actually.
33 years, right? You do the same thing over and over again. How often do you tweak or modify yourself?
I don't.
You don't. How old do you feel?
I really feel no differently than when I was in my 20s.
But you act that way too. I mean, you do the things that you did in your 20s, you continue to do.
Yeah, call me immature.
No, I would say that you found something that works for you. And I think it's actually difficult to do because you have to always reinvent yourself to maintain a certain way. You have to.
But you know, the more the world changes, the more it stays the same.
Like you.
Which is perfect. That means I'm adaptable and I evolve with the evolution.
So if you're in a high-stress job, high-stressed environment, what do you do to decompress?
I work out every day. Once or twice, I hike with my dog in the mornings. I work out in the evenings, and I go out to dinner and have fun every night.
Sounds like it's the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
Do you ever do something that's outside the norm of you?
No.
No.
Well, Burning Man.
But that's what you do every year too.
Yeah, now, yeah.
It seems like what you are is you're predictable and consistent, which makes you incredibly successful.
Well, why do some people wear black all the time? Why do people wear a turtleneck and jeans all the time?
Because they don't want to think.
They don't have to think about it.
That's it right there. Terren, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Pleasure.
We have a lot going on here, Voice of Disruption. Our next guest coming up is going to talk about what's going on in the next direction of the financial market. You don't want to miss this. I'm Ken Rakowski. It's Terren Peizer. You're listening, hanging out with us right here on the Voice of Disruption. We'll be right back.